Alright, and welcome Starcraft Nation. This is Venerati bringing you another game today. Today we're going to see Idra playing. Yay! I love Idra. Especially, I just love Idra's Zerg play. Idra will be going up against the Blue Terran today on Metalopolis. So Idra, as you know, probably considered one of the strongest Zerg players today. And me personally, as playing Zerg versus Terran, I kind of feel wrong-footed a lot of times, especially in the early game. However, Idra, as you probably are aware, rages against Terran most of the time, spouting off that Terran is generally OP or something of that nature, that Terra bad. It's pretty interesting and pretty entertaining to watch, so maybe we'll see some of that today. Depends on how the game really ends up. So Idra is coming over here with an Overlord, going to see what's going on over here, going to be able to identify where the Blue Terran's base is, and simultaneously giving up the fact that he is actually located over here in the 9 o'clock position. Those Overlords being so slow and lumbering, they could obviously not be coming from anywhere else this early on in the game. So we do see the Blue Terran walling off his ramp right here with a supply depot and barracks. So if Idra at this point chooses to bring up any broodlings, he will be able to waltz right through these supply depots. And of course, as you know, Banelings just so deadly against Terran early on in the matchups because of the, as I previously mentioned here, with the supply depots and Marines. Marines just melt in front of a a Baneling wave. Of course, we do see a spawning pool coming down for Idra, and he got his extractor first, so it's going to be interesting to see what he uses his gas for, as you know, Zerg are so gas hungry with a lot of their upgrades, so we will probably see some sort of Zergling speed or something of that nature. And of course, Idra is going to be parking this Overlord somewhere over here. Really good placement, is able to keep an eye on that Zelnaga watchtower, and we do have a scouting SCV coming from the Blue Terran. So he is going to be trying to figure out what exactly Idra is up to and trying to figure out what he needs to build to counter that. Now, this is something pretty strange going on here. We actually see a second command center coming down, and I believe it started around the same time, or exactly just about the same time that Idra dropped down his hatchery. So going to see an early expansion possibly from the Blue Terran today. I don't really see that too often. However, hey, you know, it's pretty high-tier stuff, so they obviously know what they're doing. And, of course, we do see the metabolic boost coming in for Idra, so we are going to see Speedlings running around on the field, and we do have two Zerglings coming over here going to be chasing down that SCV. I do not believe they're actually going to be able to catch that SCV, so he's going to be running home, screaming like a little baby, and this Marine will be able to use his high ground advantage and snipe these Zerglings if he so chooses. Of course, one Zergling looks like he's going to be... No, they aren't splitting off, but they are going to be swinging out a little wide. These Marines are not going to have range on them currently, but he does bring up this supply depot, and these Zerglings are going to see that this is blocked off and will be backing up. So Idra right now is focusing on bringing his natural on the line, and the Blue Terran is actually going ahead and getting the orbital command, choosing not to fly it over sooner and trying to populate it. So staying behind his wall. The Terran is actually pushing out. Well, he's standing at the ramp. Not sure if he's going to push out with these Marines. And yes, he is actually going to push out with these Marines, trying to clear away these Zerglings. So, and one Zergling is sitting there on hold position, so it died, holding its ground. Of course, we have this one Marine sitting here patrolling, making sure that this Overlord does not push into the base and attempt to spy and see what's going on. So we see the Blue Terran using his orbital command and actually pumping out these mules making such a difference. As you see, he is able to keep up and actually surpass, at time, Idra's income. However, they are neck and neck as far as drone and SCV count goes. And actually, the Terran is producing more gas than Idra is right now. So, once again, just really exemplifying the awesome prowess of these mules. Unfortunately, they are timed, so we do see more Zerglings sitting outside of the ramp. This one Zergling going up there trying to see what's going on, barely makes it out of there alive with 5 HP. Of course, right now they do have the metabolic boost upgrade, so they are crazy little racers burning around the track. This one Marine is still patrolling. I don't know. Yeah, that's got to be really boring. Either way, so we do see a tank coming on. Let's go ahead and look at the production tab. And we do see stem coming up here for the Terran player, and we do see a starport coming online. I'm really surprised that we haven't seen the Terran player try to push out in some form or fashion. Actually, they are doing that just now, trying to build up this bunker. Idra is going to see that with this one scouting Zergling. So basically just populating his ramp while this bunker is coming down, making sure that no massive ball of Zerglings can come running up into his base and start wreaking havoc. And this orbital command is going to be flying over here, and we will see the Korean, or the Terran player start to populate his line. Of course, there are so many SCVs right there right now. And we do see pathogen glands coming for Idra. So Idra apparently is going to be using his infestors. So it's going to be interesting to see how Idra chooses to use them. So many different ways you can use them. Burrow them, kind of land shark them around and try to just harass with them. Or, you know, fungal growth. Or basically taking over siege tanks, Thors, things of that nature, and using them against them. So it's going to be interesting to see whether we do see the neural parasite come online for Idra. Idra right now has a fully populated natural, and let's go and look at the income tab. Idra is sitting ever so slightly ahead. He does have an 8 drone advantage right now. Now we do see the blue Terran moving out, and looks like we are going to see a little bit of early aggression from him. So Idra, you know, Idra has 3 infestors up with 16 Zerglings. I don't know if 16 Zerglings are really going to be enough. However, we do see the infestor do a great job of using that fungal growth right now. So these Marines are just sitting there taking them, and we see another fungal growth going down there. All of those Marines die to that fungal growth, and this tank is going to be surrounded and will go down as well to that Zergling. So great use of this infestor. That infestor just totally, actually this one racked up all of those kills. 14 kills from one infestor. All of those Marines going down. So great use. Once again, we see the Terran army retreating back to base, licking its wounds. No one really survived that one. That was pretty awesome, showing the true potential of using these infestors and how deadly they can be if you choose to use them correctly. Now we do see the Zerglings moving up here. They're going. It looks like they're going to try to probe the area, basically looking for any sort of wayward expansions that they can snipe at this point. So Idra is going to ball up here and wait for just a second, it appears. Of course, we do have a tank set up, so this tank will be able to do quite a bit of damage. But we have another command center coming down. So interesting to see whether he chooses to make this a planetary fortress and kind of try to block off this area, or if he's going to fly it over and expand here or try to expand to the high yield. But I do want to note that we have the second expansion for Idra coming online. Both Vespene geysers are going to be occupied, and we have a second evolution chamber coming online. So we do have the carriage pace level 1 coming down for Idra. And what is this? We actually saw a failed drop. It didn't look like anyone survived that one. Gosh, missed that little bit of action. But we do see the infestors coming over here, coming back from that. Let's go ahead and look at the last tab. Right now, Idra doing really good as far as lost minerals, or causing losses for the Terran player. It looks like he is in the plus 1,400 minerals. It's going to be interesting to see whether he can continue this victory, or this really effective push that he's been. Well, actually, he's been a really effective defense against the Terran player. He really hasn't been doing much in the way of pushing. But as I say that, it looks like these Zerglings are going to be moving out once again. We are going to see him take out that SCV. So no scouting for you, Terran. But the Zerglings do come back. So Idra perfectly okay with just sitting back and really just cranking out the macro, which, as you know, Zerg are so good at. And we do see the drone count has kind of converged a little bit. Idra only being at +4 right now. However, his mineral count is much higher currently. But we actually do see the SCVs transferring to the Terran player's second expansion. Of course, we see a great use of creep right here. This skin highway is really going to allow Idra to effectively deploy on the field and defend his expansions. We do see another expansion coming down for Idra. So Idra really not holding back as far as expanding. And he is doing a great job of keeping his money spent. You know, this far, look at his income, and he's keeping it, you know, at around 200-300. And he does have his queens injecting. And we actually do see the chitinous plating coming down. So we will be seeing Ultralisks on the field, as we've seen before. Idra is just so deadly with those Ultralisks. We actually do see another Ultralisk popping out of that tiny little egg, creating this giant elephant war tusk creature from that tiny little egg. That's pretty crazy. What's even crazier is you can actually fit one of those guys inside of this Overlord, so I don't know how that works. But we actually see some Hellions running out here trying to see what they can do, some sort of harassment on Idra's expansion, and these drones do see this coming, and they are going to try to run away, but they will not be able to get out of there. Almost all of those drones going down, but the fungal growth getting on these Hellions, basically stopping these Hellions in their tracks. The Zerglings are able to get their surround. However, a lot of Zerglings did go down while doing that, so unfortunate, but they did succeed in killing those Hellions, and we still do see around a 1,400 lead in as far as losses go for Idra. Idra doing a good job of using these infestors. These infestors have really been the backbone of Idra's play so far. These guys are so deadly, just stripping any sort of mobility away from units, can actually possess units, and then of course spawn those infested Terrans, which are so great against light units. And we do see another scouting SCV going down in front of the horde of Zerglings. And these Hellions were up on the Selnaga Tower, but will be retreating back. And we do see Zerg melee attack 2 coming up, and 4 more Ultras coming up. And we do see the Ventral Sack. So the Overlord, it looks like Idra will be planning on using these Overlords. These Overlords right now do have the speed upgrade, so they are able to tear ass around the track. But it looks like Idra plans on doing some sort of Overlord drop. And we see the the Terran player balling up on his high yield, so we do see Thors on the table, and we do see this coming online as a planetary fortress. We even see a Raven coming in here, so a nice mixture of units here. Hellions, Marines, Thors, tanks, and Ravens, and we even see a Banshee for good measure. And this Banshee is over here. This Banshee is going to absolutely get destroyed by these infested Terrans, because it is a light unit. As you saw, 2 infested Terrans totally just racked that Banshee's day. Of course, it did have fungal growth on there, but once again, great use of that fungal growth to allow Idra to basically plant his enemy in place and allow him to really manipulate the situation. And of course, these Zerglings are standing underneath that awesome lighting effect right there, so that's pretty cool. We do see another Banshee coming out here, once again being locked in the fungal growth. This fungal growth looks like it will be able to kill it. He just redid the fungal growth, and out of spite will be killing this wolf statue just barely with its last breath. We do see a hatchery coming down on the high yield for Idra, so Idra has pretty much expanded all he can on his side of the map, and he's actually taken the liberty of taking Overlords over here and going and laying down a patch of skin so that the Terran player cannot actually expand over there. So great use of the Overlords by that. We do see the infantry weapons level 2 coming up here. And we do actually see some Zerglings coming up here, and these Hellions are just racking into them, killing all of those Zerglings. However, fungal growth going down. I don't know about this Idra losing all of his infestors right there, but he does actually drop all of these Ultralisks right on top of the Terran units. This Ultralisk just coming out of the womb of these Overlords, so these Ultralisks just tearing into that planetary fortress, using that buff they got in the last patch. I do not believe these Ultras will be able to take out all of these units, however, so the Terran player able to withstand this attack. This last Ultra is trying desperately to kill these guys and will not succeed in killing these Thors, although these Thors are in the red. Actually, a lot of these units that were even near those Ultras were in the red. However, we see 12 more Ultras coming online and 44 more Zerglings. So Idra, although he did lose a lot of units right now and actually put himself in the negative by about 1,700, so a great deficit there. I mean, well, the flip that he had, because he was 14 ahead. So either way, we see some more Hellions rushing in here, trying to do something to Idra.